exactly as advertised.
Iceman! You had some type of charisma about you that made you the people's champ.
John Hackleman, we were like one of the last fights on the card. It was a long night, and I was so relaxed that John started calling me Iceman. You don't get nervous at all, do you?
What is it like seeing your husband in the ring?
So in one way, it's exciting, but when you know someone, it's like my stomach is in knots. You're like sweating bullets, and you know anything can happen.
So much respect for the guy, man. The guy's put a lot of work, and he helped the company become who it is.
Getting a chance to fight him at the time when I was an up-and-comer, it was the biggest moment of my life.
He definitely was an inspiration to many, like myself.
Liddell is the light heavyweight champion. Unbelievable!
Hey, yo, it's DJ Khaled.
Hey, this is Kim Kardashian.
I'm Chuck the Iceman Liddell.
Hey, I'm Scott Storch.
What up, y'all? This is Fat Joe.
This is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you're watching
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Mike Sherman.
Don't ever stop.
Everybody starts somewhere. These are their stories before the fame.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Before the Fame. And I'm your host, Mike Sherman. Today we're in Venice, California, and right behind me is Muscle Beach. Tonight's show is on UFC legend and Hall of Famer, the Iceman, Chuck Liddell.
Chuck Liddell's fame has transcended the octagon all the way to Hollywood.
We'd love to stay closer.
Ultimate Fighting Champion Chuck Liddell and Anna Trubunskaya and
We are at war.
From his humble roots in the amateur rings of Southern California to becoming one of the UFC's first champions, Chuck was undoubtedly one of mainstream MMA's greatest pioneers.
Now, I had a chance to sit down with Chuck's #1 fan, his wife, Heidi, to talk about what it's like being married to a UFC legend. Let's take a look.
Good? All right. Oh! Wow. There's a difference between a punch and a punch.
Hello? Mike? Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure he's ready and we'll see you in house like 20 minutes. Okay, good. All right, thanks. Bye.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. You walk up. Perfect.
How you guys doing?
Good, you're looking awesome.
When you first met Chuck, what was your expectations on dating a UFC champion, bad boy? Did you know who he was before you met him?
I didn't know who he was.
Okay, so you're one of those,
But
I have no idea.
I learned who he was, and I also met him in maniac form.
Such as, you have to define maniac form.
He is like a bull in a china shop.
Chuck Liddell is the light heavyweight champion. Unbelievable! Wow!
Well, I know that he's like that in the ring.
He's like that in life sometimes too.
So where did you guys meet? Tell me how it
So we met at an event and he was having a good time, but you know, Chuck does everything to the max. So he's a party animal. He's like everything he does, he has to win at doing it.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
And that has meant Heidi has had a front row seat to some of Chuck's most grueling bouts.
What is it like seeing your husband in the ring? Do you watch the fights? Do you not watch the fights? I mean, what was that experience like?
I would watch it because I'm there to cheer him on and support him. And I've seen like,
Did you ever...
it's very nerve-wracking.
Yes.
But when you're along the ride and you've been exposed to that lifestyle for as much as I have been with all the guys, you know, all the greats. I've met all the top 10 guys. I've met all the guys he's fought. You really learn to respect that hard work, training, and discipline, and it's exciting, you know? So in one way, it's exciting, but when you know someone, it's like my stomach is in knots, you're like sweating bullets, and you know, anything can happen.
Outside of the octagon, Heidi says getting to know the Iceman was an interesting experience.
One of the things I respect in people more than anything is discipline. And that I did notice. Yes, he was wild about this and wild about that, and kind of like, you know, he did his own thing, and no one could tell Chuck what to do. But when it was time to work, he worked. When it was time to, you know, be responsible for his business or his commitments or whatever it was like all that stuff stopped on a dime, and there he was doing whatever it was.
Well, we made the high camp. For Shinka. We're about to head up there. I can't wait to get to top both these mountains. It's gonna be a good time. I've come this far. I wouldn't want to snap my fingers and be out of here for anything, except to visit with my family.
Tell me a little bit about your husband that maybe the average person doesn't know.
A little bit about Chuck that the average person doesn't know is that he is an incredible father. He is very sweet and very sensitive, and there's nothing he wouldn't do for his kids. In fact, I think that he probably feels more like having the kids that we have are a bigger accomplishment in his life than even his own world title.
Ever wonder how Chuck got into mixed martial arts?
When did you start getting involved in fighting and karate? At what age?
You know, I didn't start karate until I was 12. And how I started getting into fighting was I was getting beat up. They're taking my lunch money and that whole thing. When I was a real little kid, and but the principal noticed I never fought back.
Now, why was that?
Well, he came up to me and had asked me, why don't you fight back? And I said, my mom said I'm not allowed to.
So these guys would just beat on you and you would just not do anything?
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything. And so he called it was back in the good old days. The principal called my mom in, and he said to her, you know, I can't watch him all the time. I love what you're trying to do with the nonviolent thing, but this kid needs to fight back.
The principal said that?
Yeah, he said that he needs to defend himself. She sent me over to my grandfather, who was from Brooklyn. He was kind of a...
Your grandfather's from Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, he was a tough guy. Went in the Army and then ended up in Santa Barbara. But, he started teaching me how to fight.
Then Chuck got inspiration from a very likely and familiar source.
Then I got into martial arts. I was really watching Kung Fu theater. I thought it was cool. I wanted to go and learn, I wanted to learn that magic.
Right.
Learn how to...
Like, so who are some of your icons? Was like Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee?
All the old school guys, yeah, for sure. I was watching Kung Fu theater, so there's some crazy Kung Fu movies.
Sure.
And
so I wanted to do that.
They had these demonstrations in between, they have the demonstration, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I went to start doing training karate, thinking I'm gonna learn some magic.
Yeah.
And you get in there and you're training, and okay, when are they gonna give me that magic wand, and I'm gonna turn into the baddest guy on the planet?
Right.
Instead, martial arts provided Chuck some much-needed structure.
Somewhere along the line, I learned that, pretty early, that wait, you mean if I work harder and I learn this faster, I can learn more and I can get better, and then I can beat this guy that can beat me right now.
Right.
And that to me was like, you mean if I outwork him, I can beat him?
Yeah.
Oh, this is for me. I gotta learn this.
Chuck was obsessed with karate.
It's one of those things it was something I did all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would go to wrestling practice, and then when I got done, I'd hurry home so I could go to karate.
Right.
I go to football practice, get home as fast as I could, so I get over to karate and didn't miss the sparring.
So contact sports, even football is a contact sport, wasn't enough for you. You wanted hands-on. You wanted wrestling, mixed martial arts.
I had a love of martial arts. I wanted to train.
Yeah.
And then for me too, I was kind of all over the place, kind of ADD kid.
Right.
Hard time concentrating.
Sure.
And that was one of the things that really helped me learn how to concentrate.
Eventually, all those skills would prove useful outside of the dojo.
I used to say I never started a fight.
Right, but you always finished
but right away around 21, 22, I figured out I didn't let people get out of them real easy.
Right.
You know, it's like, I didn't like people picking on people, and I used to protect people all the time and be like, step in, hey man, he doesn't want to fight, but I will.
Right.
I was like, oh no, I don't want a problem.
Now,
yeah, you do.
Were you the guy protected the guys that were getting picked on? Or
Yeah.
were you the guy that was?
I couldn't pick on people. And I would say I never fought a guy. You always had an out.
Right.
You always had that you could walk away.
Right.
You didn't have to fight.
Right. So I got you. You gave them an opportunity.
I gave them an opportunity, but like I said, when I was younger, I didn't make that opportunity real big. You kind of had to slip through it.
Thanks, Chuck. All right, Chuck. All right, take it easy. Thanks, brother.
Welcome back. Today's show is on UFC legend, the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Now, Chuck had a title fight against his up-and-coming young fighter named Sugar Rashad Evans. He just won the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and it wasn't going to be an easy fight. But I had a chance to catch up with Rashad to talk about what it was like fighting a legend like Chuck Liddell.
Well, Rashad likes to put on a show, thus the nickname Sugar Rashad Evans.
You and Chuck had a chance to fight in the ring at the beginning of your career, and Chuck was kind of at the end of his career. What was it like fighting Chuck, and tell me a little bit throughout the fight?
Fighting Chuck was an amazing experience. You know, Chuck is, a legend in the sport, and at the time, Chuck was the man. You know, he was like Michael Jordan of the sport. So, getting a chance to fight him at the time when I was an up-and-comer, it was the biggest moment of my life. You know, there was nothing bigger than that.
Chuck with the uppercut.
And it was just a great opportunity to test my skills against someone who was the absolute best.
You were coming off a very popular television show, The Ultimate Fighter. So everybody knew about you. You were Sugar Rashad Evans. I mean, the people loved you, but you're going against another people's champion, Chuck. So it was kind of like, who does the fans go with?
Well, I mean, they knew who to go with. They were with Chuck all day. You know, no one was giving me too much of a chance in that fight. You know, I remember a lot of the interviewers, they were talking to me, what have I even done to even earn a chance to fight Chuck Liddell? And everybody I told that I had to fight Chuck Liddell, they always gave me that like,
I don't know, Rashad.
They were like, they say, who you got to fight? I say, Chuck Liddell. They're like, well, good luck.
By Chuck. Good right hand by Chuck. Rashad is being lured into exchange. He landed a right hand, though.
What did you expect in that fight? I mean, were you a little bit scared going into that fight?
Yeah, I was scared. I was super scared. I remember I was so scared. I went and talked to Randy Couture the day before the fight, and I tried to play it off like I wasn't too nervous. So I go and knock on Randy's door, and he's like, he said, come in. I came in. I'm like, oh my God, Randy. Oh man, Randy. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh man, I gotta fight Chuck. Oh my God, it's tomorrow. And I'm just going on and on about how nervous I was. And Randy gave me some good advice. He told me the reason why I was so nervous is because I was afraid of what was going to happen. And he said, I have to be willing to make friends with the worst outcome. Mm-hmm. And making friends with the worst outcome was the only way to set myself free so I could compete the way that I was able to. And once I was able to just accept the fact that Chuck could just knock me out and it could be very embarrassing and I'd never fight again. Once I was able to accept that in my soul, it freed me to fight.
This is Dion from Chicago. Do you ever think Chuck Liddell will ever return to fighting?
Thanks, Dion. Do I think Chuck will ever fight again? I don't think Chuck will ever fight again, but I think he may want to fight again. Once that you've taken the foot off the gas, it's hard to just get yourself really back in it and get to the level that you need to in order to compete at the level. And at Chuck's age, at this point, it's a lot hard for him to do. The aches are a lot harder. Getting out of bed on the training day is a lot harder. So I think, just training right now at this point for him is something that he may just do for fun, but putting together a whole camp, nah.
Now, one of Chuck's toughest opponents was this young 18-year-old fighter from Brazil, Vitor Belfort. And I asked him his opinion of the Iceman. What do you think gave Chuck the longevity in the UFC to fight so long?
I think Chuck was very tough, very durable. I think very durable fighter. But unfortunately, I think he just took too much beating and he could not have longevity. His longevity was very short. Actually, I don't see him as longevity. But he did a great run. But the way he fight, he was so exposed, and he got some hits, and I think that's cost him a little. But you know, so much respect for that guy, man. The guy's put a lot of work and he helped the company become who it is.
Current UFC light heavyweight champ Kimura Usman has some high praise for Chuck's legacy.
Chuck Liddell was a great champion, you know, kind of one of the springboard to get in the sport to where it is now, as alongside Rashad and Forrest Griffin and some of these legends in Rampage. You know, those guys were the original OGs, the guys that really springboarded the sport into superstardom like it is today. So, you know, he was a great champion, a great fighter, nothing but love and respect for Chuck.
If you had something to say to Chuck right now, what would you say?
The Iceman, you know, he put in the time. He put in the time, and I hope he enjoyed his time at the top, because that's something that fleets and people don't really realize or recognize that it's happening. So I'm hoping he enjoyed it, because he definitely was an inspiration to many, like myself.
Thanks, Kimura. Now let's take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I sit down with the Iceman himself, Chuck Liddell. Welcome back. You're watching Before the Fame, and I'm your host, Mike Sherman, from gorgeous Venice Beach, California. Now, Chuck Liddell is not only a UFC legend, he's also a family man. I went out to his home in Calabasas, California, to talk about family, fighting, and life after the octagon.
Nailed, that's why. He got hurt. Jeremy's hurt. Jeremy down again. He can't see. It's all over. It is all over. Chuck, the Iceman Liddell, has defeated Jeremy Horn.
I remember years ago watching you, and I didn't know much about you. It was this guy, Chuck Liddell, and I remember I started rooting for you. You had some type of charisma about you that made you the people's champ.
John Hackleman, we were like one of the last fights on the card. It was a long night, and they had us get back there at 5, and we're waiting around. So John's like, I'll tape your hands at 8 o'clock. And so he let us go around, and then he went looking for me at 8, and he couldn't find me. And he's going, where'd Chuck go? Did he leave? Did he get like nervous? He thought I got nervous and left. And they finally found me. I had a tie pad, and I was sleeping in the corner. Just because for me, that's the way I pass time when you're waiting on. I'm bored. I don't like to sit back there doing nothing. And I was so relaxed that John started calling me Iceman. You don't get nervous at all, do you? I love fighting. I love getting out there. So the Iceman stuck.
And he goes down. He's down.
And then you were knocking people out, and then you fought some fighters like Randy Couture, Randleman, Vitor Belfort. I mean, you're beating these really good fighters, and now you're really becoming a household name, and you're a superstar. What was it like now walking on the street, going to the grocery store, and you're Chuck Liddell?
Well, it became right after the Ultimate Fighter is when it really kind of changed. It went from like me walking into a room and I could kind of point out like, okay, that guy probably knows who I am,
right?
Just by looks. He probably knows me, and maybe that guy over there.
The guy with the tattoos and the scars on his eye, he knows who I am.
To me, being walking down a mall and having a 60-year-old lady go, I mean, great fight the other night.
That must have made you feel amazing.
Yeah, and it went from, it was right after the Ultimate Fighter. After that, I won the title right at the end of that, and after that aired, and we blew up, and the sport just exploded.
You and I, we are at war.
Nowadays, Chuck is making his mark on the big and small screens.
I like the movies. I like stay doing that. I hopefully get.
You're a Hollywood guy. 100% Hollywood guy.
Well, I don't know if I like that.
Well, you got that action, that action character guy. I mean,
I know I like acting. I've been working on it.
Is it hard?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of.
You got to read those scripts. You got to memorize those lines.
It's like you got to memorize lines, and if you're not comfortable with the lines, you look like you're trying to memorize them.
Right.
If I'm trying to reaching back here for it, you can see it on someone's face.
You really think you got a shot?
I wouldn't take his money if I didn't.
Yeah.
MMA is like chess. It's all about the moves. And the audition is so hard for someone like me. Like when you're sitting there and I'm supposed to be punking you or something, and you're reading it from a piece of paper, looking at me like,
yeah.
I can do this really real. If I can grab him right now and grab him.
Daddy?
You're lucky my daughter's in the car. I'd kick every tooth in your head out.
Chuck just loves to stomp his opponent.
Finally, how would Chuck sum up his impressive career?
didn't know I had that much influence on people, really.
Absolutely.
And if I can help, you know, one
Change
person,
somebody's life for the better.
You know, that makes it
all worthwhile.
All worthwhile, yeah. I tell everybody, I got paid a lot of money to do what I love for a living, and the fans are the reason why.
Thanks, Chuck. I want to wish you and your family nothing but success moving forward. Well, guys, that's our show for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. But tune in for next week's show, where once again, we go down memory lane of the biggest names in sports, music, and entertainment, all before the fame. And don't forget to send us your video questions, and we'll put you on the show at www.beforethefame.tv. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mike Sherman. Thanks for watching.